Hey people, for this video I'm gonna do something different. I had a friend ask me how to do some stuff for Cinema 4D, and I taught him a little bit, just simple stuff to get him started. I ended up doing a few things for another friend, Solario. He's a DJ on here. Check him out. And I also ended up helping another friend, so I thought I'd just put up a simple tutorial since I don't really haven't seen that many basic ones. It tells you, like, you know, your simple how to do this, how to do that. I haven't really found any of them. I found more advanced ones, which are ones I'm looking at, so I thought I would just put up a simple how-to, you know, just to get people started. That way they can move on to higher, more difficult ones, like are posted by ChromeDesigns, which I'll link you to, because I prefer him and JasonEtcoDesigns, I think it was. I'll put both of them in the comments. They both do pretty good work. ChromeDesigns has really good tutorials, and JasonEtcoDesign, I keep forgetting the name, but anyway, the other guy, he'll actually answer questions, so it's pretty nice of him. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. For the first thing I'm going to show you, I'm just going to show you something simple, and that's how to get a ball bouncing. There's two things I'm going to need to go over first, so I'll start. The first one is Cinema 4D uses a parent-child type of relationship for its objects. The easiest way I can describe that is if you were like to take a book, you have a book, but then you have chapters. You can't have chapters without a book, but you can have a book without chapters. So this little button right here, I'm going to click and hold it down, and we're going to want a floor. Now a floor does not fall. If you put an object with dynamic tags, they fall. And dynamic tags means that it is able to interact with other objects, which means bounce off of them, collide, you know, other stuff like that. So when you have it set dynamic tags, it falls. So it's pretty much, it gives it gravity. So we're gonna right click on the floor, dynamic tags, dynamic spotting, and that'll make sure that, you know, our ball will continuously bounce off this floor. So also do not mistake, if you would hold down the cube, click and hold down, do not click plane, because that will fall. The floor is the only one that actually stays. So what we're gonna do is go into the cube and hit the sphere, and this little, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and what you want to do is you want to use the green arrow and bring it up a little bit. Now when you zoom back in, it's out. So here's where the camera controls come in. You can either push Alt and left click, which will just rotate, Alt mouse wheel click, which will move it back and forth, and Alt right click, which will also be your zoom. Now again, your zoom is the mouse wheel. Or you can go up in the right hand, right here, this moves, this is like your zoom, and this rotates. This is what I end up using more than most of the time. So we want to zoom out a little bit, and, you know, get the ball towards the top of the screen, and maybe change the view down a little bit, just like that. So now that we have the basics set up, we're going to need to go into the sphere again and put on the dynamics body through the dynamics tag, so that this is able to collide with other stuff that is using the dynamics body. Once that's set up, we can then select on the floor. Make sure you do this. That way it makes it a lot easier. Select the floor and press play. Now you see the ball bounces, but it only does it like 2-3 times. So we're going to want it bigger. So your time-lapse bar is right here. Drag the green bar all the way to the left. When you had your floor selected, hit Dynamics Body, and you're going to see the bounce here. Now, for a really big bounce, you can set it up really high, but if you want a medium bounce, I suggest between 75 and 100, and see how that looks. So that's a pretty good bounce, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. And your friction, maybe decrease that a bit. I'm gonna put this as 150, and this should be selected automatically, this little golden arrow here. Select your sphere, and then you want to click to scale. This allows you to resize the object. Now, not all objects that you're using can be resized, like the floor here. No matter what you do, it will not change. It looks exactly like that, but I'll tell you more about that later on. So make sure your sphere is selected, click your scale object, and you can switch it between a big, or you can switch it small, so it's like a bouncy ball, I guess. And play it. Now, my computer's a little laggy because I got a few things going on right now, so it's not going to be completely smooth. Yeah. Also note that it does take longer to play if you are like using smaller objects. Bigger objects are usually bigger because it's a lot easier to play with them. So I'm just going to make this really big for right now. And there you go. Like I said, you can change the size or the shape. You know, let it run through a few times, that way you can get the frames rendered enough for you. So once you have that done, you know, that's just a little simple bouncing ball that we did there. It's simple and relatively easy to do. Now, what we can do is we can also make the ball roll around. So, again, we're going to select our floor. Now, this tool right here allows us to rotate the object, like this. And you can see a little scroll wheel tells you what exactly, how far you change it. Or you can just use the rotation around here, which will also rotate it for you if you know the exact degrees that you want it as. For right now, I'm just going to give it a little tilt. And so we don't want it bouncing that much. We're going to go to our floor, dynamics body again, and we're going to set the bounce around, just set it for 20. And maybe bump the friction up to back up to the normal 50. And we're going to see how this plays. That's good, but we still want a little after bump, so maybe put it up to 30 and play again, see if we can get just a little tiny bounce. Nope. It is a good idea to play with this as you're going along, especially if you're new. Just kind of tweak it till it feels just right. Maybe 65. There we go. That's perfect right there. And it just rolls off. Now, it does stop after 90 frames, but however, we can fix this. If you see right here, you can click, hold, and drag down to minimize the frames, or you can drag up to add more frames. So I'm just going to go with 200 right now. And then once that's added, you can drag this all the way over and it'll display all the frames in the time frame. Or if you want, you can drag this so it displays a certain few. I usually just end up having it display everything. Just makes my life easier. And as you see, it'll just keep rolling. Since the floor is infinite, when it renders, it just keeps going and going. So maybe we don't want that. We can add another floor, and we'll switch back to our move. Let's pause this. and maybe we'll give it a little crevice that it can roll around in. Alright, let's give it a try now. And see, it rolls itself. Let's bump up the frames a little bit. See if it rolls over. Nope, and it will go back down. Now you don't have to actually do it like this. It's just an example that I'm doing, and you can do it your own way. So once you have that done, you can delete it. That's all I'm gonna do with that bouncing ball. You can bring out another floor, or you can keep one of the old ones. It doesn't matter. We're gonna zoom back in here, and next thing I'm gonna show you is how to get something to move and move back. Now, if you had Dynamics Body on, it will fall and it will collide with things, but you can't control where it goes. Now, let's just add a cube here. You can move it wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Let's back this back down to about 200 frames. Pause it and just move this wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Make sure you get a good angle on it, and you can see most of it. So I'm going to start this right here, and one thing you're going to need to learn how to do is how to save frames. So it will save the position of everything that is active, which means everything over here, it will save the position of it. You can easily do this by holding Control and picking the little dot of what you change. So let's say I have my square here. What I want to do is go to my coordinates. I want to click the P, the S, and the R, and it'll highlight everything. And then I click the dot, so it'll do them all. And that's called saving a keyframe. Now you can also hit the key. I actually prefer it like this, so I know what's been changed. And so we have that. Now let's pick frame 50. We can move the cube around. Maybe give it a little bit of rotation. And again, we're going to go back into the cube and coordinates. Now you see, if you set the keyframe, and whatever's been changed will turn into yellow. So hold your Control key and hit red, and it will change it for you. And then you get this blue line. Now the blue line shows you the path that it will take from point A to point B. So let's back it up to frame 0 and we'll watch it move. Now you can also maybe drag this little bar down here that you see is the saved frame, and you can speed it up or slow it down. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just looking right here, so yeah, I didn't think so. But anyway, that's just, simple moving of this cube from one side to another, making it able to rotate and move. And my computer's derping again. But anyway, you get the gist. That's how you get a cube a cube, circle, square, cone, doesn't really matter. That's how you can get it to move and have it move itself over. Now, if you want to do something a little more complex, you can start out the same way. Maybe have this here, and maybe every 25 frames you want to move it. Probably should move the time frame. And also remember that you change this before you set a new keyframe, or it'll just erase the one that you're on. As you can see, I'm doing that quite a lot, and it kind of sucks. Yeah, I kind of screwed that one up a little bit. Let's try this again. Move this over here, select a cube, keyframe it. Over to 75, set the cube over here, keyframe it. Cube over here, 100, and keyframe it. Now, if this plays right, it should just go into this circle. Now, a nice thing about Cinema 4D, it will automatically make it curve, so it's not like jutting from place to place, which is something that I really like. It kind of makes it, a little smoother, more natural. It is all around pretty nice. Okay, but that's the basic of how to get, something to move, and with the line showing you its path. What else can I show you? Oh yeah, text. Another thing is if you come up here to Mode Graph, go to Mode Text, you'll get a text tool. This is usually what I do when I'm doing anything text-based, is I'll use the Mode Text. You can also use, there's an actual text that you can use that's around here somewhere. I don't exactly know because I don't use it. But anyway, it's here. So once you have it selected, go to your object, type in whatever text you want. I'm going to go with nothings, and I'm going to pick a fun font. I'm going to go Hobo STD. I don't know why. It's a fun font to say. And there we go. We have our font. Now, careful of your fonts, of which ones you use. I know my favorite font is Fernanda Hand ITC, but I'll show you here, when you use it, a lot of them don't turn out neat. Like, you see it's all rigid and bumpy. Yeah, a lot of them don't turn out neat at all. It looks cool when you use it in, Microsoft Word or something. But in all honesty, it's really nothing that cool. It just makes it look horrible. So, you know, the text looks nice. Get one that you're comfortable with, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to change it. So, you know, get your font right and, you know, change your depthness however you want. I usually do around 80. You know, it's a nice, good depth. And, you know, that's basically how you make text. Now, if you want some fancy effect, we can go over here, and this is our effectors. Click and hold it down. Maybe we can do a shatter or an explosion effect. Let's do a shatter. So what we're want to do is make the shatter a child of the mo text. And see here, if we change the strength, it'll change, you know, how the text looks. Now, I usually do not do this because if you look at it, you still see the wording there. It does separate into pieces, but the front and back sides aren't really. They just kind of like go away to nothing. So let's keyframe it here, our strength, and maybe come out here to 75. And again, keyframe strength again. Go back here to 1, and we'll watch this play. Now, if you did it right, it should play. I apparently did not do it right. Yeah, make sure to change your strength. It does help. Come back here to 0. And there you go. You got some dissolving, shattering text. Maybe you want to go a little bit drastic and have it start from the middle, or maybe you want it to shatter and then come back. You can do that with that too, but what makes it neater is the explosion effect. So we're going to make it a child of the text again. And if you don't understand how to do that, what you do is you click on what you want, and then you drag it till you see that little arrow facing down, and it'll make it a child of that group. Now, if you're going to use the explosion, one thing you're going to have to keep in mind is how it changes the text. Like you see in my intro, which is why I'm going to end up changing it, it kind of gives it this little weird front to it. It's not all that fancy, and it just kind of makes it look bad. It's a lot easier if you do it for like a sphere or something. It makes it look better. And you can see when we drag it, it kind of distorts it, makes it a little bit explosion-y. Let's go into our explosion text again. Go into our explosion, maybe turn up the strength. The green here is what it affects the blast speed, you know, your DK. Maybe turn up, got your blast range, and it's just all simple stuff here. And again, with this one, you'll see some parts left over, which is why I really don't like using this one either. And when you're doing this, a lot of this is just kind of fiddling with it until it looks nice. And that's good. So, like we did with the cube, we're going to set it to frame 0. Go to your coordinates here, and again, with all of them, you're going to click the P, the S, and the R, and you're going to keyframe it. And we're going to move it to where we want. Maybe right here, go to frame 100 or something. And we're going to keyframe it again. Go back to 0, and press play. And you get some cool explosion-y rebuilding text effect right there. If you want, and maybe you just want it to go from underneath and have it go like that, you do the same thing. You just put it underneath, have it drag up, and set your keyframe down here, and then you keyframe up here, and you know, it will rebuild itself. And that's how you get the explosion in text. Now, if you want one, a breakup kind of thing, like the shatter and the explosion, I will recommend the Thralsy plugin app. You can Google it and find it. It's one of the only plugins I have on here, and I do say you should use it. It is pretty nice. What it will, and this is why you can't change text. What it will do is it will take your text and it will break it up into parts, and it will break it. And if you set it to dynamics body, it will fall and shatter when it hits the floor. So what we want to do first is maybe get some color. So you want to double click down here, and I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to set it to blue, and then we'll make another one. We'll set this one to red. So when you have Thralsy, and we'll drag the red one on here. So when you have Thralsy, it looks red on the outside, which is the second color you put on, but the inside will still be blue when it's broken, which is why you put two colors on it. So, and I do not recommend putting the pieces above 15. So maybe we'll break it into 10 first. And as you can see right here, it does break it like the explosion and shatter, but it fixes it. It actually keeps the smoothness of the text. And I usually try to break it at least twice, so I can get more pieces and it looks relatively better. We'll let this work here. And there you have it. So we're going to go to frame 1. And again, like the ball, if it's dynamic, you can't control where it will fall. It does it by itself. So you don't really have to do much. Just make sure your floor is keyframed. I mean, not keyframed, but dynamics body. And I guess set it to frame 1 and see how it broke for you. And there was that much of a variation, so we're going to make it fall a bit. I'm going to lower my floor and maybe set the bounce back up to about 110 and see how it breaks now. It falls more, but it's not that much of a bounce is what I'm looking for, so turn down the friction, maybe turn up the bounce a bit more. Maybe the bounce is a bit too much. You know, it looks a lot nicer. Now, you can't really have it put itself back together, which is, you know, something I don't like, but it's good if, you know, you're just having something else come out from it. And I do recommend it. Just Google it. And, you know, it's something, yeah, it's that good. So next thing and the last thing, let's say you have your little animation done. I'm going to open up the first thing I ever tried animating, which is just something stupid. I was just testing out how to move stuff around, and it's just really simple. There's nothing that technical about it. Okay, that's it. So, let's say I have my project done and I want to export it, maybe put it up on YouTube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the render button and I want to go to render settings. Now, depending on what you're uploading, you want to go to output and put in your dimensions. I always render in 720p, so what I'm going to do is 1280, and then for the height it's going to be 720. And that'll give me the HD that I want. Now, you're going to close out of that. And if you're just rendering a picture, you want to click this button, the orange one. But if you're doing an animation, you want to hit render and make preview, or Alt B. And your image size, you put in what you did for your width, 1280. Your frame rate, you want 30. And doesn't matter which one you have, either QuickTime or AVI, doesn't matter. And, you know, just let that render. And maybe I'll also do rendering picture. There are two different ways you can render a picture. You can either render it to save or just render it to see how it looks. To render it and save, you would click this, but just to render it in screen and just see how it looks so you can keep changing stuff, you would hit render active view, and it'll go through and render it. And this is what I got. Like I said, it was kind of basic, so there's not going to be that much detail here. So it's a lot quicker load. Now, when you do materials, as you saw, you know, you can do quite a bit of stuff with it. You know, transparency, reflection, glow, make it you know, luminance, whatnot. It's pretty nice. And when you're doing that, you gotta remember, you know, what's gonna look best, because you may have a light in here, and sometimes, you know, if you get the light to shine wrongly, it's not gonna look up well. Or if you're coming in here and let's say you turn on reflection, well, you don't want it to be an exact mirror copy, and maybe if you don't, you turn on blurriness, which will blur it. But one problem you get is it'll look like this. It'll just look like a complete pile of magnetic white shit, depending on your color, and you don't really want that. Or if you want, you can come up here and turn your brightness off, and it'll change between the color and your actual reflection, which is nice. And you know, you can render it, and maybe, you know, you'll get a little reflection there now since you turned it on. And it's not all there, it's a little bit blurry. You can't really see it that well. Maybe you don't want to see all of it, so you're going to turn down the brightness a little bit more, and it does start to go away. Maybe let's see, it's not there anymore. But anyway, the movie's done rendering, so we're going to look at it, and you see the resolution is 1280 by 720. I'm going to go here to frame 0, and we're going to look and see how it ended up. It looks fine. So if I want to save it, I'd right click, save as, and if you're doing the movie, you're going to want animation, and then change this to AVI movie. Keep all this the same. All you want to do is change the type and the format, and then you can click OK, and it will save it to wherever you choose. And that's how you render something. Now, if I wanted to render the photo, like I said, I'd click this and it will render it. And then again, you can right click and save as. So that's just simple basics. If you have any questions, go ahead, post a comment, either on the video, on the channel. You can ask for help. I'll be more than happy to help you if I'm able. Look in the comments. Like I said, I'm going to post 2 links to 2 guys that I know on here that are helped me quite a bit. And to anybody who just got Cinema 4D and is not really sure what to do and rather have me help them through this process instead of watching this video, if it didn't help that much, if you do have Skype and you are capable of using a mic, send me an inbox and I will help you through it step by step. If this video was a bit too fast or you had questions, I'm here to help and I don't mind. So subscribe. I may put up another video, maybe do something with the materials, you know, export into Photoshop or some simple stuff like that. Or if anybody sends a request, I'll be, you know, maybe do something with that. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something or are walking away with new information you didn't have before. And maybe you'll come back again. I would love your subscription, so feel free to come back anytime. Thanks for watching.